Hi, I'm Kaedy.
Carlos, it's been a while since I've talked to you, but I have to start by telling you I watched Carlos last night. It is so good. Your Netflix, I watched it on Netflix. Carlos, I'm blown away. So it's like the freshest thing on my mind about you, but what a beautiful film, documentary.
I'm so grateful to my mom and dad. Well, first of all, for God, my mom and dad and my sisters and brothers for praying for me, and very content that I got a chance to really honor all those who support me.
It was very important to see your sisters, too. I thought that was lovely that they got a chance to talk about you when you were a little boy and then when you were becoming famous. And I was very touched by it. But, I've spoken to you before, and I know that you're a very spiritual person. But what surprised me, Carlos, I think the most is that your language, when you speak, you're very poetic. That's very interesting to me that you play guitar and you're not so much known as a singer, but when you talk and the phrasing you use, the words you use to describe things, it's like a work of art. And I just had to tell you, congratulations. I know your family's super proud, but I know you're super proud of them too, that you got them involved in that and that we could see a side of you maybe we all didn't know about.
You're very gracious. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And I do have to let you know too, when you told about the story about the Virgin of Guadalupe.
Which one?
The one where you said you were on your knees and you looked up at her portrait and she was looking at you and she started talking to you?
Oh, yeah. It disturbs certain people because a lot of people, strangely enough, they read the Bible and everything, but it's a one-way conversation. They talk to God, but they don't hear God talking back to them. So, what kind of relationship is that, I ask people all the time, what is God saying to you now? I understand you memorize the Bible, the parables and scripture. Congratulations. But what is God saying to you right now?
And are you listening?
And are you listening? I'm very, very grateful to be born in a part of this planet where it's very fertile for faith and believing that there's a way to connect the umbilical cord with the mother and the father. Like American Indians, Mother Earth, Father Son.
It's beautiful. And you keep reminding us, and I appreciate it very much. Let's talk about your tour because I know that's the most important thing to you now. You're going to be coming to Gas South Arena with the Counting Crows on June 18th. It's the third date of the tour. And I was wondering how, especially at this point, Carlos, you've been playing live for so many years. How do you prepare to go back out on the road for a few weeks or a few months?
Thank you for asking that. I learned a lot from my wife, Cindy Blackman.
Yes.
She has 4 things, probably 5, but 4 that are really, really glaringly with consistency. Diet, devotion, dedication, discipline. Like a world-class athlete, she takes those things very seriously. Discipline, dedication, devotion, and diet. So when she goes on stage, she scares a lot of men. A lot of men, they like, oh, and then they shriveled up because they know that their energy is going to come short. So I learned from her about dedication and devotion and discipline and diet.
So let's talk about your diet. What do you do that keeps you moving and going at 77 years old?
Well, she prepares juices for me and smoothies and stuff like that. And I read a lot of books. It's a different kind of juice because you can eat the best food and still be weak if you don't think correctly.
I looked at your tour dates, I looked at the list, and there are a lot. And then when I was listening to your documentary, you said very specifically early on when you were touring that you would go like 3 weeks on and then take a week and a half off to be with family, that family was the most important part of your life. So does the tour, does that help from keeping it getting grueling?
It's only grueling if you're not enjoying what you're doing. Because for us, it's not a job, it's a gift. It's not a burden, it's a blessing. So we change the words and we change the energy.
That's amazing. And who are the people around you? I also found that very interesting. I think most of us know, at least with my radio station, that you had some classic rockers that played with you early on, and that the changeover with your band, I imagine that some young blood's going to keep you moving fast too. Tell me about your band.
They mean the world to me. They bring consistency of high energy, and they're like 2 wings, they spread the wings and soar in the infinite sky of positive possibilities. My band is very well equipped with versatility. We are not a one-trick pony band.
Right. For instance, if we go to see when you talked about being able to play songs differently the next night, you could go to two different shows and may have a totally different reaction to it or response.
Exactly. Once you realize that every sunset and sunrise is different, and you realize that every time you make love is different and fresh, if it's the same, then you're doing something wrong.
And you have so many people on stage. That's the other thing, I think. And your wife, of course, now is the heart of the percussion. But how many percussionists do you have?
3.
It's a sound. Like, again, I'm reminded watching you last night. It got me so excited to see you when you come back. And, I didn't tell you this either. You're the first concert I ever saw when I was 13 years old.
Wow, bless your heart. Thank you.
This is back in 1970 at the Omni in Atlanta. So you were one of my very early favorites and still are. But when you see you live and just the beauty of your playing, but the band, obviously, to have that other sound that kind of juxtaposes with your beautiful, fluid guitar playing, it takes a lot of people.
It's important to communicate with the band so that we all become one. And when we hit that note, we all hit it together with grace and with elegance. I identified, like Bob Marley, with lions, because lions, they know how to devour you. You appreciate being devoured by a lion.
Do you mind me talking about some of your products?
No, not at all.
Because you have some very beautiful, sexy products. Last time I talked to you, I had just bought a pair of your sandals. I was shopping for sandals and I went, Carlos Santana has a woman's shoe line. You have a men's shoe line. Your merchandise, your merch for Santana is amazing. Like, you have so many different things, even signed guitars, I couldn't believe.
Everything that you mentioned, all that energy, I call it energy, goes into helping children in Africa, South America, and American Indians with food, water, education. For me, one hand helps the other. I learned from Bill Graham that it's okay to put on a different hat for merchandising and be of service to humanity.
Yes. Ultimate Santana, I went to your website and then I found that one because of your tequila. And so I looked at all the tabs on that. And when I saw all of the charities that you support, I thought that was really important for people to be able to see and to know that that is where your proceeds from your restaurant or your women's handbags or your colognes and perfumes. That's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm very grateful and very proud that over the years we were able to help people like Mr. Desmond Tutu and Mother Teresa, and we help a lot of people help people.
That's what it's about, isn't it?
That's what it's about.
And your wife, she has her own career too, right? But she's going to be out with you on this tour, I would take it.
Yes.
And your son, do you mind talking about your son's career a little bit?
No, I don't mind at all. It's a joy.
Tell me about him.
Well, he's really gifted. We prayed for him, and we call him Tesoro, which means a treasure. He knows a lot about music, from John Coltrane to Miles Davis. So I feel really grateful that he can articulate the divine language of light and music.
I couldn't help but when I was watching Carlos, the documentary, that watching you with him when he was on the piano, when he was young at Salvador, am I pronouncing his name right?
Yes.
Salvador. He was a young boy saying, Dad, what do you think of this? And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? But then thinking back to you and your dad and him teaching you and watching that picture of you with your father when you're standing with the band and you're wearing the little white jacket and holding your violin, it just was beautiful. It just goes around, doesn't it?
The river just keeps rolling along.
I love it. And that's perfect because my radio station's called The River, Carlos. I love it.
Beautiful.
I wish you the very, very best. Is there anything you want to say to your Atlanta fans?
Please come and celebrate your own light and your divinity. Let's bring hope and courage to this planet.